Hi there, it's Thursday. Welcome. Really exciting session we're going to have today. I can see my face is still a little bit flushed. Baby cat. Let's just talk about baby cat. I've been running around and playing with my baby cat. Oh my goodness, do they bring so much joy to your life. Yeah, having all the cats, they're awesome. They're so accustomed to your ways. You know where to go and find them when you're looking for them. They know where to come and find you when they're looking for you. But oh goodness, the joy of having a baby cat running around like an absolute lunatic until they just fall over. It's literally run, 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 fall over. So much joy, so much happiness. I wish I could have that much happiness in a day and just remember that everything is a game. It's absolutely awesome. So welcome. I can see people are starting to log in. Yes, if you've just logged in a little bit flushed, just been running around the baby cat again. So hey, Catherine, I can see you're in. Bev, I can see you in on IG as well. Welcome. Marie, all the way from Germany, coming in today on Facebook. And then I also have Chucky. Welcome, welcome. So remember, if you want me to say hi, please just go and say something in the comments. And then obviously I'll give you a shout out. So today is going to be quite exciting because we're talking about a what we call an exotic oil. Now, an exotic oil is typically an oil that is not run-of-the-mill. It's not generally used because there are other alternatives. But I think what make these exotic oils really fascinating and awesome is that we do need to alter our essential oils every now and then. And it's also good to have a change, providing some kind of additional support or a slightly different support to your body for whatever it is that it needs that particular day. So we are going to be talking about a beautiful oil today that is going to be amazing in your seasonal relief collection. So definitely something you want to have on hand, especially now. I think there's a lot of us that need quite a lot of support in the respiratory areas, for example, supporting the immune system. So this is actually quite a relevant oil for this moment in time. So yes, today we're chatting about an oil called Niaouli. It's a new oil released into the South African market by my favorite brand. And there's actually quite a few of these around. So it's a rare oil or an exotic oil, so not routinely used. But also there's different chemotypes. Now, before we get too sciencey about the chemotypes, if you attended my quality presentation a session a couple of weeks ago, when we sort of were taking a break from the single essential oils, we started talking about quality. And I've just realized that I didn't even say hello properly because I was talking about my baby cat, who still doesn't have a name, by the way. So if you do have any suggestions, I'm waiting for that personality to come out. So yeah, if you have suggestions, put that in the comments for me. The best one will win, obviously. Or if it's my one, then it's my one. Then it's one of those. So yes, I'm Tanya. I come from my Alchemy of Soothing Botanic Ingredients page every single week on a Thursday at 12 noon. And this is my slot where I really enjoy teaching people about how essential oils work, what they can do for your body, how they support you physically and mentally, and just really 20 to 30 minutes where it's just, quite exciting to just be part of the fun and learn how you can use these essential oils. I can see, are we even live on Facebook? I just want to see. Let me just quickly go back. Yes, we are live on Facebook. It hasn't gone down. Brilliant. I thought there was sort of a break in the connection there. Elizabeth Werters just joined. Fantastic. Welcome on Insta. All right. So, Deborah's just logged in from the UK as well. Okay, I can see everything sort of stagnated and then I could see all the comments coming through. So maybe there was a little bit of a delay. Whoops. Michelle Chamberlain, you're there as well. So welcome. We are live on both. So yes, let's chat about Niaouli. So Niaouli it's a relative to the tea tree plants. And I think what makes this oil incredibly fascinating is it's got some of the chemical constituents that we find in tea trees. So we're going to be able to cross-purpose it. But there's some other chemical constituents in there, for example, that you find in high doses, very good for a meditative mind, emotionally, for example, or in some of our citrus oils, which is going to be incredibly uplifting. So this is an exotic oil, but by no means are you going to use it only infrequently. I think this is definitely going to be an oil that you're going to want and that you're probably going to start using a lot more after learning today what this oil is all about. So let's get started. So Niaouli, it's quite a nice name for my cat, I thought, but that sounds very girly. So no, that's not going to gel. I'm thinking things something like Loki, Lord of Mischief. But then I'm very scared that he lives up to his name. And he has been doing that for a couple of nights in a row now and kept us awake. But hey, that's the joy of having a kitty around, because even if they're really awake at night, those little nose coming to like press on your nose and just waking you up again because they want to say hello. Oh, there's something that's just incredibly special. Yes, just love. Absolute love. So, Deborah's saying she loves Niaouli. Awesome. Yeah, if you want to write in what you think the fragrance smells like, Deborah, that'll be cool. Put that in the comments so people can see what you're experiencing from the oil. All right, so Niaouli is actually a plant, or a tree, I should rather say, that's obviously native to Australia. That's where most of the tea tree and tea tree similar species or genuses actually grow natively. So the seasons are perfect for it, for example, the soil conditions, and it grows naturally. But there's a couple of other countries, if you think of how the earth was shaped before everything started breaking apart, there's a couple of other places with correct seasons, for example, and the soil conditions that are also going to be really great at growing the specific species. For example, Madagascar, because that's the island between us and Australia, right? So the oil I'm going to be speaking about today particularly comes from Madagascar. And I think what's really important here is to understand the various chemotypes that are also present. So there's about 4 chemotypes of essential oils that are around. And the chemotype, if I just need to remind you, what that is there's specific genuses of plants which produce essential oils. And they all have very similar properties, but because of the chemotypes, so they may look similar, the plants may look similar, but their essential oil chemistry is slightly variable. So they have similar chemical constituents, but they are present, for example, in different ratios. So we have one that's very high in eucalyptol, 1.8 cineol. That's the one I'm actually going to be speaking about today. We also have one, for example, that's higher in linalool. We also have one that's higher in viridifluor. Yes. Then there's also one that's high in nerolidol, which is a very important one, especially if we start looking what's also going around in the environmental threat. So these plants are actually incredible, specifically when we start looking for seasonal support, which is why I'm talking about this beautiful oil today. Oh, there's lots more people that logged in. Welcome, Michelle Chamberlain. I can see you've just logged in. Oh, but you're coming in and going out. It must be an internet-related thing. And then I can also see Sharon Outram is logged in. Welcome, welcome. And Marisa, welcome to you on IG as well. So yes, yeah, let's carry on. So this specific oil that I'm going to be speaking about today, the one that we are addressing, the chemotype predominance, so it means that that specific chemical constituent is there in a very high concentration, is the 1.8 cineol, also known as eucalyptol. So now you can already start seeing which oils we can alternate with to have some other uplifting properties together with that eucalyptol that we're after. So eucalyptol, just a reminder, it's an incredibly anti-inflammatory oil, and it's very supportive for a healthy immune response. So it's definitely one of the oils that a lot of us are using at the moment a lot more frequently because of the benefits that it gives us. But this is going to be an essential oil that you can alternate with, because this oil also is high, for example, in alpha-pinene. Now, I know there's someone on the call today who also, I've asked this before, alpha-pinene, incredibly meditative, very good for skincare. Which other oil, very meditative, is also high in alpha-pinene? If you can remember what that is, put it in the comments for me. Let's see if you can recall from some of my previous sessions. It's also got some limonene in it. Now, of course, limonene is something that's found predominantly in citrus oils, which is very uplifting as well as incredibly cleansing. Yes, Bev, you are so right. She's just come through on IGE. You are the winner. Frankincense, of course, being very high in alpha-pinenes. All right, and then we also have alpha-terpenol. So there's a lot of terpenes in there. And we also have the viridiol or viridifloral, which is also present specifically in this oil, but at much lower concentration. So the 1.8 cineol or the eucalyptol is in our specific oil that I'm speaking about today, the one that's high, that's the sort of the predominant one. It's around 62% of the total chemical constituents that's found in this oil. Hello, Natasha. I can see you've just logged in as well. Welcome, welcome. The beginning part, obviously, remember, remember, always go and catch the replay either in the feed or on YouTube. All right, so it's really amazing about the chemical constituents, because now we can start seeing how versatile it can be, not only physically, respiratory, in other words, probably the main part, but also to the skin, the cleansing properties that are present, but also for the mood because of that limonene that's in there. So if we start thinking about rare oils, or what we call exotic oils, do also understand that there's going to be a lot more adulteration that takes place, because it's not an oil that's very readily found, for example, or very readily produced. So specifically, Niaouli is usually adulterated with eucalyptus, for example, or even with kerosene or fatty acids, if the 1.8 cineol is present, or the eucalyptol, same name, is present, for example, at much higher concentrations than, I'd say, 65 to 68%. So if we're hitting 70s, 72s, you're probably dealing with an adulterated oil. And I guess if it's from a natural source, it's still not going to be detrimental to your body, but then you're going to be needing to use the oil for other supportive effects instead of the one that you're actually purchasing. So again, if you're not using an essential oil that you can get the lab results for, because they simply are not testing the oil, please ask the company that you're buying from why not, and are they able to give it to you, because then you can analyze it and look at it and see what the predominant chemical constituent is, so that you know, okay, cool, I am dealing with Niaouli today, which is high in 1.8 cineol or eucalyptol. So I'm dealing with a chemotype that I'm looking for specifically for respiratory support, for example. All right, so I found that quite interesting. Now, obviously, because of the chemical constituent array that's present in this oil, it is an excellent insect repeller. So I tend to find that all of the trees and the plants that grow in countries where there are a lot of insects, they're there because of the insects. They're there for us to be used in a supportive manner. So here, particularly again, because there are a lot of insects in a country like Australia, and big ones, I believe. Obviously, I can see Elizabeth Wirtus, for example, does live in Australia. There we go. So this is definitely going to be one of those oils that you can combine with something like lemon eucalyptus, for example. Very, very good for that anti-mosquito effect, okay? Hello, Madeleine. I can see you've also just logged in on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. Also, I think because of the antibacterial, antiseptic, antifungal, antiviral properties, it's going to be one of my favorites, right on the top of the list there, because I'm a microbiologist. But because of all those, this essential oil can be incredibly supportive for the skin. So here, think cuts, grazes, if there's anything sort of irritation on the skin, if you are dealing with skin blemishes on your face, for example, because of breakouts, then this is going to be a really good oil to have around. And especially with kids running around, they bounce back. I can see that with my cat. My cat falls because he's under my feet, and then he's over my feet, and then I kick him by accident. Obviously, I'm not going to bring the Niaouli close to my cat. They are a little bit sensitive to anything that smells anywhere remotely like tea tree, for example. But there's a lot of information out there showing how Niaouli is being used, for example, specifically for dogs. So definitely safe around dogs. I would be a little bit more wary around the cats, though, because it's still going to smell very tea tree. It's just going to be a little bit more woody and a little bit more sweet, I think. All right, so the things on the face, the rashes, for example, or when you are a little bit bumpy on your skin, on your face, then it's going to be a really good oil to try. Now, do be aware that although this is a really good helper for skincare, it's definitely considered a more sensitive oil, for example, compared to our normal tea tree. So you will need to dilute it a little bit more. Tea tree, you can almost lean to using it neat. I always dilute most of my oils, but tea tree and lavender, for example, you can lean to using neat when you are dealing with a medicinal grade or a tested grade oil and you know it's not been adulterated. But definitely with Niaouli, you are going to have to dilute a little bit more, okay? Because it is definitely a more sensitive, more potent, a stronger oil in a sense, with specifically because of the high eucalyptal content in there. All right, I can see Gada's also just logged in. Welcome, welcome. All right, so Deborah's definitely saying that it smells a lot nicer than tea tree. Okay, but I like the smell of tea tree. I like that clean, fresh smell. So I don't know if that's just me because of my background and my research, but hey, I love clean, smelly thingies. All right, so definitely very good for the supporting the immune system, in supporting the skin barrier, for example, because of all those properties that it has. But I think because of the very high cineol, 1.8 cineol that's in there, this is a very potent oil specifically for respiratory support. So think steaming, for example, putting it in a diffuser, especially when there's a lot of congestion involved. It's a expectorant, a decongestant. So definitely a really good essential oil to be using. I can even see Michelle Stanley's logged in. Welcome, welcome. So Niaouli is going to be one, for example, that you can swap out in the diffuser every now and then for eucalyptus. Or even if you're using tea tree and rosemary in your diffuser, you can swap it out with Niaouli. I'm just giving you some examples here. And the tree Niaouli is actually, it's called paper bark. There's a couple of names of it for it, but it's definitely because the tree has these like white, on the bark itself, it's these white shavings that almost comes off, and that's where it gets that paper bark from. And if you think what it usually is used for, it's usually for the skin. So you can definitely add a drop to your facial moisturizer, for example, or add it to a toner to spritz your face for that antibacterial benefit that it has. And for that same reason, it's also going to keep certain of the solutions that you put it in, it's going to keep it cleaner for longer because of the antiseptic properties in there. Hello, Charmaine. I can see you've also just logged in. Welcome, welcome. You can also use it for target areas on the skin, for example. So say you feel a little bump coming on, applying that with some your favorite carrier, for example, because remember, it's now a little bit more sensitive than the tea tree. You can apply that. It's got a really unique, energizing and rejuvenating aroma. And if we start looking specifically at diffuser blends, because this is really a powerful oil, specifically in the diffuser and to use topically. So if you want to have that clean air smell, something that I'm really after, especially now with the baby cat. Look, my big cat has been doing her business outside the house for 5 years. Baby cat, not yet. She is, or he is not yet allowed out of the top side of the house. So that's a litter box. Yes, I clean it every day. I'm pedantic, but I still get that fragrance wafting every now and then. So definitely a diffuser in my room, for example, when he's not there, is really beneficial. So that clean air smell, you can combine the Niaouli with something like grapefruit and ylang ylang, one of my other favorites, for example. If you want a bright and a breezy kind of feel, you can start blending it with something like bergamot or bergamot and cedarwood. If you want to have that tidy home smell, something like lemon and frankincense can be really beneficial if you blend that in a diffuser with the Niaouli. Another one, I like to call it in the woods. Niaouli, black spruce and citrus bliss. That is a beautiful combination. So of course, I can send these diffuser blends with exactly the amount of drops to be used in your diffuser. If you want that sent directly to your phone, please just pop in the comments diffuser Niaouli, or just write diffuser. And then I'll be able to send you a little screenshot of just those specific recipes that I found that really smell incredible in a diffuser. So if you want that to your phone, just put that in the comments for me. And also, if you again think about the aromatic side, specifically in the shower, there's a lot of us that put shower melts in the shower in the morning because it uplifts the mood. It's really good. It just sets you up for the day. But I think I sometimes get lazy and I don't make the shower melts, and I just, before, when the hot water is running down, I just take my bottle because I don't want it to get wet, because then it's obviously going to slip out of my hand because I'm clumsy, and then I'm going to smash the glass in the shower, which is never a good idea. So as the water is coming down and is starting to heat up, I usually take my essential oil and just chuck a couple of drops into the shower, away from the direct steam. So like on the floor, and then that beautiful fragrance like wafts up. And I tend to do that very often with eucalyptus, even cypress, but I'm definitely going to be trying it with Niaouli as well. So if you want to make a shower melt, then swap some of your essential oils that you usually use in the shower melt, swap that for Niaouli. That's going to be really amazing. If you don't have a good shower melt recipe yet, again, just put in the comments for me shower melt, and I will get that to you with pleasure. All right, so those are the two options today, the recipes. I started talking about them a little bit earlier, I guess. All right, so it's the diffuser blends that are going to be really beneficial and supportive, and then obviously the shower melt, which is just going to really liven up your day. So if we do look a little bit more into the physical benefits before we get to the emotional side, then we start looking, the helpmates, in other words, for the skin support is going to be a really good idea just to dilute with carrier. So I make something called a wound oil, where I combine things like frankincense and lavender with tea tree, and sometimes I add a little bit of rosemary to that, especially when it's a deeper kind of cut, because the rosemary is really good for wound healing as well. And I usually combine that all 1:1:1 ratios with fractionated coconut oil, and that's sort of my ointment that I apply before I put on a plaster. But I think Niaouli is definitely going to be one that you can alternate, for example, if you want to put that in a wound kind of oil, so that you can support your skin when you or your little ones have gotten hurt. The insect repellent is probably going to be a lot better in the diffuser, and I think if you apply it with lemon eucalyptus, for example, with some carrier oil around your ankle area, we're not that bad right now if you think about it, because of the season, so we don't have that many insects flying around. But if you are in a hotter area like Australia, for example, those are going to be really good ones to combine, I think, to have repelling activity. And of course, you can also add cedarwood, for example, when you're going to be putting it in your cupboards, when you're doing a nice cleaning in your cupboard, specifically for the insects that are brooding there, moths, those kind of scenarios. It's going to be really beneficial, especially if you add the cedarwood. Cedarwood is really good for clothes moths. All right, then if we start looking at the alpha-pinene, because now the alpha-pinene here, remember, it's very high in the cineol, which is going to be incredibly good for the respiratory tract, very supportive for a healthy inflammatory response, so not over-inflammation, not chronic inflammation, so bringing that down. So respiratory, it's going to be really good, either steaming or putting it in a diffuser. I can see Anais just logged in as well. Welcome on IGE. So those are going to be really good for the steaming. But the alpha-pinene itself is not only beneficial specifically for skincare, but on the emotional side as well. So the alpha-pinenes, which Bev, if I remember correctly, answered correctly, another oil that's really high in alpha-pinenes is frankincense, of course. And that alpha-pinene, there's a lot of research showing how beneficial it can be for the skin, especially if you've got skin discolorations from too much sun, for example. So this is a really good oil to be combining with something like frankincense, black spruce, which does the same thing, by the way, and vetiver. Those are 4 oils that I've come across now that are incredibly supportive and have been used in Eastern cultures, for example, for a very long time for a skin whitening benefit. So that support of skin discoloration. So this is why it's a really good one. And I can see there's a lot of information as well because of the antiseptic properties that it's going to be really good, especially if you add a drop to, for example, a toothpaste dollop. So really good for in the mouth as well, for teeth and your gums. And Elke has also just joined from Belgium. Welcome. You can always just watch the replay on the YouTube or in the feed. And yes, so there's definitely a lot of skin benefits, specifically when we're looking at the alpha-pinenes. But now remember, there's quite a few other beautiful chemical constituents in well. And if we look at the limonene, because now this oil, even though it's not a citrus, has limonene in it as well, up to 7%, which is quite high if we start looking at the residual chemical constituents that are in there. So it's going to be an incredibly uplifting oil. So if we start moving over onto the emotional side, if you guys all remember when I talked about tea tree and how tea tree is really amazing for setting healthy boundaries, for example. So if you are in a situation and you don't necessarily want to be there and you need additional support in sort of protecting, then tea tree is a really good one to put on the wrists. But Niaouli is going to have a very similar benefit here and a little bit more, I think, because of the limonene that's present in there. So it's going to be really good in cleansing properties and clearing out, for example, negative emotions. Now, just talking about the cleansing, remember any oil that has cleansing properties or chemical constituents can be used to clean surfaces. And now you know this one is really antiseptic as well. So definitely going to be uplifting the mood while you're cleaning the kitchen, for example. But I think this is in this long haul after effect symptoms that a lot of people are experiencing now because of the current environmental threat. This is going to be a very powerful emotional oil because Niaouli is one of those that is very good at relieving or decreasing, for example, negative emotions, especially when they're linked when you've had a disease for a very long time, for example. So when that recuperation period, oh my goodness, did I even say that correctly? When you're trying to recuperate from some kind of illness, for example, and it's what we call long haul. So you're still tired, and it's really taking your body a long time to just feel emotionally okay again. So not just physically, but your mind. So you're exhausted, you're very tired, and you're almost just too tired because now your body is almost feeling better, but your emotions haven't caught up yet. You're not feeling okay yet. Niaouli is definitely going to be very supportive there. All right, so it's moving from feeling fatigued to feeling very invigorated. So that's why those diffuser blends that I mentioned is probably going to be really supportive for you. So if you do want to have that right onto your phone and you haven't yet commented, please go and put in the comments diffuser Niaouli, and I'll get those diffuser blends to you as well. So yeah, I think today was really exciting. Niaouli is a new one for me in the market. I'm going to get mine very, very soon. It's just something that I'm really excited to receive. I like testing out exotic oils and new oils and making up new recipes and playing around with. That's my creative part. So I really am going to be posting some things as soon as I start making some beautiful recipes, for example, because I think as soon as we start playing around, it's like my cat who's playing with me now. It just, it makes you happy. It's fun. It just brings new energy. And I think there's so much negativity in the world right now. We could all do with the enthusiasm that a baby cat has. So yes, let's start playing with our oils, get excited about using them again and incorporating Niaouli specifically now in our diffusers and into our skincare routines, because it's going to be incredibly beneficial and supportive to your body, not only emotionally, immune system, anti-inflammatory. Those are the two very, very big important ones from Niaouli. Alka saying she also loves Niaouli. Fantastic. I'm so glad you have it in Belgium already. Really, really awesome. Cool. So I hope to see you guys all again next week, Thursday. I'll be on my regular social media channels to be teaching about the next single essential oil. If you do want to go and catch the replay, go find me on YouTube. I have my channel there. I always upload the videos afterwards. Or you can just go and watch it in IGE, Instagram, IGTV, that section, or Facebook in the feed. Thank you all. Cheerio.